Hey guys, Chef Tom here. Today we're going to talk about the pros and cons of being a chef and working in the kitchen. So this video kind of outlines some things. A lot of it's kind of geared towards just working in the kitchen in general. The things that specifically pertain to being a chef I'll kind of point out, but a lot of them are kind of interchangeable. But being a chef, there's some specific things that are different. So I'm not going to sugarcoat this video. If you're thinking about starting a career in the kitchen or becoming a chef, there are some things that you're going to need to know. People that have been working in kitchens for a while already know these things. But there's a lot of things that you need to kind of know if you're gonna go all in and say that you want to become a chef and maybe go to culinary school or something. I would suggest actually working in a kitchen before you take the steps to going down that road. I think everybody should actually work in a kitchen at some point in their life just to know how it is. Pretty fun experience. It's quite different than a lot of other jobs, I'm sure. Culinary school is not cheap and you should know what you're getting yourself into. And that's what this video is about. Low starting pay. You're not gonna make a lot of money working in the kitchen, especially starting out. Now, that's not to say that you can't make money working in a kitchen or being a chef, but money equals experience and knowledge, basically. It's gonna take you a while to get the experience under your belt to know how to be a chef. Culinary school can definitely give you an advantage and kind of put you on the fast track to gaining the knowledge and experience that you need to become a chef, but going to culinary school doesn't make you a chef. You are not entitled to become a chef by going to culinary school. If you've gone to culinary school and you don't have any experience, then you are basically completely green. A lot of people get out of culinary school and they spend like 50 grand or more and they're making $10 an hour. If you have the experience and you have the knowledge, you can get your foot in the door in some pretty nice jobs that pay anywhere from $60,000 to $100,000, being like a chef de cuisine or an executive chef. I went to culinary school, it was $38,000. The interest rate's pretty high, and then getting out of culinary school, if you're not making that much money, it's gonna be really hard to pay that off and you're gonna be in debt for a long time. So know what you're getting yourself into. If you're thinking about going to culinary school, know that you're not gonna be guaranteed to make any certain amount of money coming out. I didn't actually get paid salary until a couple years getting out of culinary school. $30,000 a year coming out of culinary school. I mean, you can make a decent amount of money, but if you're trying to support a family, a lot of the hourly cooks I know are working 2 jobs to support a family. But even then, the chef's salary compared to how many hours we work isn't really that great. Like if you break it down to an hourly figure, if you're in a fine dining restaurant, most servers and bartenders will be making more money than most line cooks. If that's something that bothers you, you probably don't want to be working in kitchens. If you're thinking about starting a restaurant of your own, consider this. 60% of restaurants will fail in the first year and 80% will fail within the first 5 years. On top of that, the profit margins aren't very desirable either. Long hours. So working in kitchens, especially restaurants, you're gonna have long hours. We're talking anywhere from 12 to 16 hours a day. If you're only working 8 or 10 hours, that almost feels like a half day to you. You're gonna be working nights and weekends. You're gonna be working holidays. You could say goodbye to any life that you would consider to be normal. A decent amount of restaurants will be open on Thanksgiving and Christmas, so you could say goodbye to that. That's not to say that all of them do that. Just keep that in mind. If that's something that's important to you, you probably want to find a job that's not open on those days. Now, you can also find jobs, like right now I'm working a job that's Monday through Friday. We close the kitchen at 1:30 in the afternoon, so I have every night off. I have weekends off. We're not even open on the weekend. That's a corporate dining job. There are jobs out there that are like that. I don't want to ever work nights or weekends again for that fact, and I want to have the holidays off. I want to be with my family. So that's something to take in mind if you're thinking about going down the path of being a chef. Either you need to find a job that allows you to have those hours, or most chef jobs where you're gonna get that experience that you want to further your career, you're gonna be working nights and weekends. You're gonna be working 60, 70, 80 hours a week. You won't be seeing your friends or family that much. You have new friends and family now. They're called your coworkers. And if you're trying to go out after work, you're gonna stink unless you go home and take a shower, but that'll eat up more of your time. Your hands are gonna smell like onions and garlic. Whatever you're cooking with, you're gonna smell like that. Yeah, you're gonna stink. You won't be able to call in sick. Calling in sick isn't really an option. Now that might have changed a little bit with COVID. Most privately owned restaurants that are not corporate, if you're sick or you have a fever, you still have to come in. So basically, if you don't show up, whoever else is working is gonna have to cover you. And that just means like double the work for them. The show must go on. Vacations are hard to get for the same reason. If you don't have somebody to cover you, restaurants already have a tight margin as it is, so having extra staff just floating around isn't a thing. So if somebody needs to take a vacation or take time off, then there's nobody there to really cover for them. We don't just have extra people like working. So basically everybody else has to pick up that slack. Being a chef, you're responsible for what's happening. If somebody comes in or there's a missing spot and there's not enough people to cover, you're gonna have to go in and work. It can be very stressful. It can be a bit of a beatdown. There'll be tight deadlines. You may have a lot going on. You might have parties. You might have to run parties in the restaurant. Depends on the situation you're working in. Different catering events. On busy days, you can expect to get in and start prepping and just work straight through, no breaks, barely getting your prep done on time. Then you have to go up and work the line in a very hot environment where you have to remain super focused so that your ticket times don't get too long. And then when all that's done, it's time to clean up. You're gonna get a lot of cuts and you're gonna get a lot of burns. I've cut myself quite a bit of times. You'll usually just take a wet paper towel, wrap it around my finger, throw a glove on and get back to work. Getting burns happens all the time. I have like burns on my arms. I have scars. I've gotten stitches probably 4 times. I've only gotten stitches because I had to go get stitches. There's probably other times I should have gotten stitches, but I didn't just because there was work to do. Can't really stop, the show must go on. You'll be working in hot environments, cold environments. You'll be working with things that are very heavy. Your back will hurt, your feet will hurt. The older you get, the more you kind of fall apart. I feel like there's a reason why you don't see chefs that are over like 45. Like, how many times have you seen an old guy as a chef? Not very often, and there's a reason for that. You're gonna need a thick skin. You're gonna have people judging you all day. Your boss is judging your work. You're gonna have your customers judging your work. Even your coworkers will be judging your work. So you definitely need a thick skin for that. There's gonna be a lot of bad language and political incorrectness. If that's something you're not used to, I mean, you're gonna need a thick skin for that as well. Also, there can be a lot of competition. If you're trying to go for a chef position or even being in a chef role yourself, you might have people trying to undercut you. There's been multiple times throughout my career being a chef that I would have different sous chefs trying to throw me under the bus, talking smack about me behind my back to the owner. And I mean, each of those times it panned out because I know what I'm doing, and the sous chef clearly didn't know what they're talking about, but that just goes to show you sometimes have to watch your back. And then not even being a chef, but say you are aspiring to become a chef, there's a lot of competition and people don't always follow the golden rule. I always feel like you should treat others the way you'd want to be treated, but that's not necessarily how it goes. You might have people trying to undercut you or make your work not look good compared to their work. You'll have a lot of narcissists that think that their way is the only way, and that the way that they do things are the best way. If you are new to a kitchen and you're asking somebody how to do something, you could get a completely different answer from anybody that you ask. That's something that a rookie will notice almost immediately, is it depends on who they ask, they'll get a completely different answer on how to prep a certain item or how to cook something. I mean, there's a million ways to skin a cat. There's so many different ways to cook things, and a lot of people think that their way is the only way. But in fact, there's many different ways, and now there probably are better ways of doing things. And that's one of the beauties about working in a kitchen, is you can always learn from other people. Like, maybe you think your way is the best way, but it might not necessarily be. So you can learn from somebody else's experiences, but sometimes when you're trying to teach somebody something, they're not very receptive to new ideas. Kitchens are full of bad habits. If you work in a kitchen long enough, you'll probably pick up a bad habit, whether that's smoking, drinking energy drinks. Substance abuse is very prevalent in kitchens. And people do these things to help relieve stress, because there is a lot of stress in the kitchen, but they can be a problem in the long term. Being an actual chef is a lot like babysitting. Unless you have a crew that you can trust and you know that are going to be doing things the way you want them to be done. Otherwise, it's going to be a lot of training and then checking back in to make sure that they're doing it the way, and then triple checking to make sure they're doing it the way, going around just making sure everybody's doing their job the way you want to do it. You're going to be doing a lot of cooking, you're going to be doing a lot of paperwork, you're going to be doing a lot of schedules and menu writing, doing the hiring and the firing, being in meetings, coaching of employees. You as a chef are the responsible one if things aren't going the way they should on any of those factors. If your food cost isn't good, or if one of your employees messes up, or the order's not right, or you have customer complaints, or the food wasn't cooked properly, that falls on you. You are the one who is responsible. It'll be your problem. It's your job to fix it. So now that I've been harping for a while on all the bad, there is some good to it. It makes you feel alive. There's a lot of high energy. There's a controlled chaos. Very fast paced. There's a feeling of being successful with the team, just getting your asses handed to you and making it through the night and being a success. Now, you could not be successful, and that's a bad thing, but it kind of goes hand in hand. You don't know the ups if you don't know the downs. Being able to multitask, doing all these things at once, making it all come together. You get to learn something new every day. It's a never-ending learning experience, or at least if you make it that way. Now, you could just be stagnant and not do anything new, but I'm always trying to learn something new, talking to new people, learning about new cultures and new food, learning different techniques from somebody. I mean, you could learn something from anybody. It doesn't matter their level. There's always something to learn. You're constantly being pushed to become better and better. And after being constantly pushed to become better, it makes any other job that you do seem easy. You get to work with some really cool people. You also get to work with some real assholes too. I mean, it's like having a whole new family. You're with these people all day, every day. You come up with some really cool stories and some cool memories. And then just talking to the people that you work with, they have crazy stories of their own. Some of the craziest stories I've ever heard are from some fellow coworkers. If you're into this sort of thing, it can be a real party atmosphere, especially in your earlier career. If you don't have a wife or kids, I've done a lot of partying, met a lot of people, had some really good times, really enjoyed life. Like I said, you can't know the ups if you don't know the downs, so constantly getting slaughtered at work and then getting out of work and just having a great time. You have those ups and downs, and it can be very fulfilling. Cooking brings a lot of joy to people, and it's like a form of instant gratification. You're sitting there, you're prepping the food, you're cooking the food, you watch the food go out, you watch the people eat the food, you see the smile on their face. There's no greater thing than seeing the fruits of your labors. You can express your creativity, or at least in a lot of jobs you can express your creativity. You may be working in a job that it's like strict and you have to follow the recipe exactly. This is exactly how the plate looks. But a lot of jobs let you express your creativity in some form or another. Even if two people follow the same recipe, the outcome's not going to be exactly the same. So there is some level of creativity there, and that's pretty cool to be able to express yourself like that. Cooking allows you to travel. Basically anywhere you go, people need to eat, so that's a great way to learn about cultures and just see the world in general. That's one of the things that attracted me to becoming a chef in the first place. I wanted to see the world, travel the world, see where the wind takes you. You'll be able to eat a lot of good food, probably over a trash can. You usually won't get breaks, but there will always be food around. Depends on where you work, the food can be really good. It's not a desk job. Every time I have to sit in front of a desk, I feel like I want to fall asleep. Now, being a chef, there will be moments where you have to be sitting down in front of a desk, probably filling out paperwork or writing a schedule or figuring out food costs or writing menus. I prefer to be in the kitchen. I prefer to be standing up. And last but not least, it's a cool thing to do. A lot of people think about being a chef as being romantic, or, you know, you think about a chef like that guy's a badass. If you tell somebody you're a chef, they're like, oh, cool. Like, where do you work? And it's a very interesting thing. They'll oftentimes ask you, like, what kind of chef are you? What's your favorite thing to cook? Or what's your specialty? I usually just tell them I'm a spaghetti chef, quesadilla chef. Well, I hope you found that video informational, especially if going into working in kitchens and becoming a chef is something that you want to do. It's not something to take lightly, so if you're thinking about becoming a chef or working in kitchens for the rest of your life, definitely check it out before you pull the trigger on that. If you did like this video, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe, and I'll talk to you later. Thanks.